Hello and welcome to the Homeless Consultants channel. My name is Paul B. I am the Homeless Consultant. And I wanted to give you a quick update on my TWexit and Joe Biden's first half day in office as the first president of the Banana Republic of America. I have to move extremely fast. It's incredibly cold out here. I can't find the mouse. I have the sun in my eyes. And I have to get going soon, so let's get to it. As far as Twitter goes, I want to exit Twitter, but before I did that, I wanted to get the package of all the tweets I have made over the years, and in almost 24 hours, Twitter hasn't provided that package yet. And you have to do it before you leave, or you won't get it. So, also, I learned something about Twitter I did not know. In the messaging section, you can actually sit there and basically chat with someone. I didn't know this. So I ended up chatting with a couple of people. One very nice person in Wisconsin. And that was a very nice conversation, by the way. And another one in Gambia. And this fellow in Gambia is, telling a very sad story about his situation. So I'm trying to, you know how the scams are coming out of Africa, so I'm trying to find, confirmation of this, if he's really in the situation he says he's in. I want to do something about it, but unfortunately, because of all the scam artists out there, I need to try to confirm what he's saying, but what he's saying is very, very sad. Anyway, I have to move right along here. One other thing before I forget. I ran across a video online. It was from the Epoch Times, but it's an interview. It's about how Los Angeles, the government, the corrupt, swampy government that runs Los Angeles, how it profits financially from the continued existence of homelessness. And I watched the video, and as I went through the comments, so many people there were saying, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea. Why haven't we been told about this before?" Just over and over and over and over and over again. People saying, "I didn't know." And, bless this woman for telling us these things. And I'm just thinking, what have I been doing the last 6 years? I've been telling you how Minnesota profits from the continued existence of homelessness. They make money from it. They steal money. They steal money from taxpayers, and they shove it in their pockets. And we end up with living in a car like this when it's, 8 degrees out? I don't even know. So I'm going to put a link in the first comment and in the description here to that video. It's not all-inclusive. It doesn't tell the whole story. I don't even agree with this woman in particular as far as what to do about it. She's, doing a lot of, her perspective is totally off base as far as who's to blame for this. But the simple fact is, she's right about the way that this money is funneled. It's just another way for the rich elite swampists who run our governments and our state governments and now our federal government to steal money from people for ostensibly good purposes. Now, let's look, as I was waiting for Twitter to get me what I need so I can leave the darn place, I just grabbed a bunch of tweets, and because I have to move so fast, I'm just going to fly through them. They're not in any particular order, so I might retouch a couple topics. Let's see, the first one here says, no one showed up at the inauguration, no one watched it on TV, numbers were absolutely abysmal, and he says, 0 chance this guy won the amount of votes claimed. Duh! That's the point all along. This is someone who didn't campaign for office, didn't go out, just sat in his little bunker, and you're going to tell me he got more votes than the Republican candidate who had the most votes of any Republican incumbent ever. Right. Next on there at the bottom it says, America last. 15 executive orders from Joe Biden. His first half day in office. First actions. And what's he do? Not one of them prioritizes American citizens. All of them are to benefit institutions, corrupt organizations like the World Health Organization, etc. and they damage American people. This is exactly what we told you would happen. First half day in office, and you got another 4 years of this guy dismantling all that is good to help people. All right, let's look at the next one. TV ratings again were the lowest in history for a man who received the most votes in history. Right. Thinking cap goes a long way, folks. And then this lady saying, I welcome the decision of Biden to return to the World Health Organization, an incredibly corrupt and incompetent organization. Brilliant. There's your typical Democratic supporter. Not exactly a thinking being. Watch my series on junk science, and you will understand the World Health Organization, which, by the way, is essentially controlled by Communist China. They have the lion's share. Donald Trump pulled us out of that corrupt organization. Said we're not funding it anymore. No way, no how. This is a political organization, utterly incompetent when it comes to health. It's all about controlling masses of people and exerting government dominance over people. It's never been about health. The next one, from a representative here, Biden's first actions halt construction of Trump's border wall. I never got to do my existential threat in-depth discussion of immigration and why you need to know who is in your country to administer your country. Just like you need to know who is in your household to administer your household. Biden, first day, reverses that. Lets anybody who wants to come in here. You know, someone who might have spent the last 10 years, I don't know, studying how to build bombs, things of that nature. Yeah, really wonderful way to start out an administration that supposedly is going to save this country from Trump. Also, he blocked the Keystone XL Pipeline. Okay, now you're going to see in some other tweets that cost a lot of American jobs right out of the gate. One of the people, I don't know if I quoted it here, writing out layoff checks already. First day in office, Americans. Our energy policy, one of my existential threats to America. Trump was fixing that. He wasn't doing everything that needed to be done, but within fossil fuels, he was fixing it. He gave us energy independence. For the first time, we could really just not depend on Saudi Arabia. They had no more control over us. And what happened from that? We started bringing Saudi Arabia into the fold in all these peace agreements. But all that's about to end. Peace is about to end. He also re-entered us into the Paris Climate Accord that Trump took us out of. Watch my multi-part series on junk science to understand what climate change, man-made climate change, is supposedly about. Next one says, it is fitting that the only people at Biden's inauguration are politicians, the swamp, journalists, the swamp, rich donors, the swamp, and Hollywood elite. Big deal, celebrities. Wow. Oh, Tom Hanks, please let me shake your hand. Let me get your autograph. You're such a wonderful human being. Whatever. Just being a celebrity. I mean, oh, man. And he ends with the swamp is back, and that is exactly what has happened. Americans did not vote to bring the swamp back. Something else happened. Next one says, Americans take notice. The same people who would not use troops to protect your city during all these riots, you know, like Governor Tim Walz, they're not just gonna come in and stop that kind of criminality. Or they also didn't want to build a wall to protect us from, people who spent the last 10 years learning how to make very high-powered bombs out of ordinary chemicals you can buy at the grocery store. They're now using both to protect themselves. How about that? They were in Washington. Someone said, I haven't been able to confirm this, someone said there were more troops in Washington, D.C. during the inauguration than there are in Afghanistan. This is looking a lot like 1917 Russia, isn't it? Next one says, took Biden less than 30 seconds to sign an executive order ending the Keystone Pipeline, putting 11,000 out of work. There you go. Next one says, the most important job of the president is security of the nation. On his first day in office, Biden ended the border wall and the travel ban from countries that harbor terrorists. I said all along, I predicted, Terrorism's going to start again. We're going to start getting it again. Israel's already got it. You saw that note, the tweet from the IDF where a missile had come in already. All the saber rattling from Iran and North Korea already. China's on the move in the Pacific militarily. He thinks that proves he's not a racist, but it proves he's a fool. I don't think it's to prove he's not a racist. He couldn't care what anyone thinks about that. This is about the swamp. This is about destroying this country so that the swamp can take over control of the whole world. Which was one of my existential threats to America, by the way. I think it was number 49 or something like that. This global cabal, whatever you want to call it, the New World Order, whatever you want to call it. No one can really pin down exactly who they are, but they're crazy. They're crazy. It's just the Tower of Babel all over again, and it's going to get the same result. Next one says, on his first day in office, Joe Biden made it easier for terrorists to enter America. Well, duh. What else is he going to do? He's got 30,000 troops guarding him. How many are outside your home? When you're standing at the bus stop and that car down the street's thinking about driving straight into you to kill you, where's your 30,000 troops to protect you? Next one says 234 federal judges put on the bench. 3 Supreme Court justices. Energy independence. Middle East peace. No new wars. Destroying the dinosaur media. Oh wait, that's not Biden, that's Trump. He's responding to a National Review, apparently article or tweet, that says, goodbye to Donald J. Trump, the man who wanted to be Conrad Hilton, but turned out to be Paris Hilton. Well, that's just really cute. That's really cute. Doesn't actually make a rational argument like this responder did when he pointed out all the things that Trump had accomplished. No new wars. I just want to emphasize that one again, because it's about to not be that way anymore, isn't it? Next one says, big talk in new Biden administration is top-down approach to COVID, including enhanced lockdowns of human beings in a free country. For vaccine distribution. Have you been looking at the reports from around the world? There was that one nursing home. It had something like 200 beds. They forced the vaccines on all of them, and I think within 7 days, 30 of them had died. I mean, there's a lot of reports of people dying after taking this vaccine. I mean, statistically impossible if this thing actually works, which would explain why one of those officials, I think it was from the World Health Organization, I could be wrong, I'll have to look it up, called this vaccine biological warfare and human experimentation. They have no idea what this vaccine does. How can they come out and say, remember back, they keep changing every single day what the vaccine does. They said, oh, the vaccine's good for 1 year, and then it's no longer good. How do you know that? It hasn't been a year. How do you know that? You see, if you just think about it, you figure these out. Well, as people started pointing that out, they back it up and they say, well, it's good for 5 months, then you need a booster. Really? How do you know that? 5 months ago, where are all these studies? See, this is just like climate change. You can't talk about something that's happened over millions or billions of years when you don't have any data. You don't have anywhere near the amount of data you need to know to see how our climate changes over time. Drilling some core samples isn't enough. You need a tremendous amount of data, and it's impossible because we weren't there and we can't get that data. It's as simple as that, folks. That's why it's junk science. White House plans to micromanage state responses per official. Federal government plans to micromanage state responses. That was what the Civil War was about, folks. You can talk about slavery till the end of time. It wasn't the right to keep slaves that made them secede from the Union. It was the imposition of the North's will and through the federal government on the southern states. And that's why the Civil War happened so soon after the country was founded. Because this trend immediately, as soon as the country was formed, this trend started for the federal government to try to take more power than it was constitutionally allowed. That's why the southern states were fighting back against it. They wanted their independence. The United States of America, the United Independent States of America. Independent states, which are all different, not the same, different policies, different ways of looking at things, different ways of doing things, united politically through this tiny 4-page document called the Constitution, and that's it. Otherwise, they're free. And if you don't like this particular state you're in, you can go to a different one that's something that you like a lot better. But today, what are you going to do if the federal government's changing, dictating everything, literally dictating everything in every state? Which state are you going to go to? They're all the same. They are not independent states anymore. It's one federal government with a bunch of jurisdictions that have governors. I mean, completely antithetical to what the United States of America was, which is why I call this the Banana Republic of America. Next one says, we won't stop until Hawley is a former member of the United States Senate. Josh Hawley is the one who stood up and said, I'm going to contest these election results, as he should have. Now, he's responding to something from Mark Elias, who said, Americans are once again ramping up calls for U.S. Senator Josh Hawley to be expelled from the United States Senate. When you were at the water cooler at work the other day, were they calling for the expulsion of Senator Josh Hawley? Because this guy says Americans are once again, not the first time, ramping up calls for, really, nobody's except these leftists are calling for that. Josh Hawley was doing his job. That's exactly what a senator's supposed to do, is to make an independent decision as a representative of the people. He has every right, he has every responsibility. That's exactly why those rules are there for contesting election results. It's been done on other elections. The Democrats have done it over and over and over again. Now I want to point out something though. This guy who originated this thing, Mark Elias, have you heard of him? Tell you what, take a few moments to read this and learn something about Mark Elias. And remember, with all his interactions with governors, think about Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota. Okay, moving right along. The next one. Carefully take note of everyone and every source that told us that either Trump would not leave office or would use the military for a coup. Remember all that fear-mongering? Oh, Trump's going to perform a coup, he's going to bring in the military and blah, blah, blah. Or that heard from someone inside the Trump camp that he was going to arrest Biden and remain president. They are liars. Oh, hey, turns out they are, aren't they? They're liars. Now, personally, I do think Trump should have looked into the possibility of using the military, because this was an existential threat. As I said, the United States of America is over. It's now over. And I don't know. I'd have to talk to Trump to know. I think he probably looked into it, but it wasn't possible. Every single institution is corrupted by the swamp. The House of Representatives, the Senate, the White House now, the Supreme Court through John Roberts. All these corrupt judges who legislate from the bench, the corrupt news media, corrupt big tech, and a lot of corruption in the FBI, the Department of Justice, just filled with putrid, rank water, a swamp. And the military. And the military. That's why we had all these wars where these guys who were ducking for cover in the Capitol building can send your kids out to war, and they will be doing so again very soon. War is a big moneymaker. Next one. Joe Biden's inauguration got so many thumbs down that it is now unlisted on the White House YouTube channel. Look at that. 4,000 thumbs ups, 25,000 thumbs downs. It's more than 6 times as many people thumbs downed it. Now, thumbs down doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it is kind of it's kind of an indicator. This shouldn't be happening if this guy had more votes than Donald Trump. Next one. Biden's pick for Assistant Secretary of Health vows to make hostile misgendering a mental illness under administration's new health guidelines. Okay, so I can't get into this in depth right now. If you could see this whole picture, you'd be horrified by this. This is a transgender woman is what they're calling this person. Transgender woman. So I think they think this is a woman, even though this person has XY chromosomes. They're calling this one a woman, and this person is saying that without doing research according to the scientific method that would lead to a conclusion, I just am going to arbitrarily dictate that anyone who disagrees with the idea of me being a woman will now be classified as a mental illness. Do you see the problem there? Let me repeat. This man dressed as a woman here has XY chromosomes. You can do as much plastic surgery as you want. You can snip off as many organs as you want. Although you can't add the other ones, can you? Not for real. But this person has and always will have XY chromosomes. Do you know what an XY chromosome is? That's a man. XX is a woman. And the commentator here said, knock knock, thought police. This is not the scientific method, folks. This is just like anti-smoking and climate change. We believe that this is true, so we're going to go out and we're just going to dictate to everyone else that according to science, this is true, and you will agree with us or you will pay the price, or else. And we're going to go out and we're going to just conduct junk science research that ignores everything that disagrees with it, and we're only going to seek out things that support our loony conception of what the world's like, such as calling someone with XY chromosomes the term that is applied to describe someone who has XX chromosomes, you see. Less than 1 day in office, folks. This is why my videos have been saying that this is over, this country is over. This much lunacy in 1/2 of a day. Next one says, okay, so they're pointing out that the White House has taken down the petitions on its website. Okay, now maybe it'll come back, but right now it's not there. It seems like, disabling comments, taking down the petitions, it seems like this particular White House isn't very interested in anything that the American people have to say. Hey, that sounds a lot like when Americans, tens of millions of Americans, were demanding an investigation, a proper investigation of the elections, and the House of Representatives and the Senate didn't do what the American people were demanding, even though it's their job. By the way, if you're not aware, there was no, that I'm aware of, there was no court that ever heard the evidence, actually heard the evidence of skullduggery in the 2020 election. There's no court that ever heard that. The House of Representatives refused to hear the evidence. The Senate refused to hear the evidence. The mainstream news media refused to present people with the evidence. The evidence is out there. You can go get it yourself right now before they cleanse it. You can get it. It's what's called abundant evidence. It's a sure thing. Any prosecutor on the face of the earth would love to have that much evidence for any case that they're taking into a court. And yet, we never got to present it to anybody, ever. That's the problem. Remember Kelly Loeffler, who said she was gonna support the investigation, and then there was this little riot outside the Capitol building. They end up executing an American, and some others die. This thing that was started by, let's find out, shall we, if they would investigate it for real. And then all of a sudden, a couple minutes later, she changes her mind. Well, because of what happened out there, I'm going to completely ignore, I'm not even going to look into this charges of skullduggery in the election. Because Justin Bieber wore a baseball cap today. I mean, something completely unrelated to the concept of potential elections skullduggery. See, she never had any intention of investigating it in the first place, in case you can't follow the train of thought here. Let's look at the next one. The Biden administration announced a series of executive actions that open the door for instituting quasi-Marxist critical race theory across the federal government. One of the greatest things Donald Trump did was basically take away funding from any government agency that promotes critical race theory. I don't have time to talk about that right now. Critical race theory is just a bag of pseudo-academic garbage that is meant to manipulate people into believing absolutely foolish things. I mean, it has no relation to reality. It is designed to rewrite history. And Biden, within hours, this is what was important to him. This is what was important to him. not you and your family. There's nothing in here about helping you out with what's going on, with what's happened with the coronavirus health scare, destroying your jobs and your businesses. There's nothing there he's doing. All he's done is bring us back into the World Health Organization, kill our energy independence by killing the pipeline and ending American jobs. I mean, that's what he's focused on. His first hours in office show you what this person was about all along. And if you'd paid attention, you would have known what he was about all along. Next one. Does Joe Biden's new executive order mandating masks on federal property not apply to Joe Biden when he's on federal property? Hey, here's a video of Joe Biden at the Lincoln Memorial, federal property, not wearing a mask. Are there any yelling and screaming about how he's a super spreader? He's spreading the disease. He's killing grandma. It's kind of quiet in here. I'm not hearing a word about it. Oh, yeah. Oh, look at this. Hey, the whole crew, the whole swamp is here, and none of them are wearing masks. But they're behind closed doors, aren't they? They probably didn't realize that person had the camera. Let's see, here we go, the next one. But the YouTube comment section is where people go to come and heal together. Why is that relevant? Well, because the White House has disabled the comment section on the YouTube channel. Okay, I already talked about that one. All right, here we go. The 1776 Project. Again, this is meant to literally rewrite history. See, history happened. If an event happened, imagine the events in your life. You remember you got your little red wagon, and at some point you had your first date, and you got your driver's license, and then you went to school or trade school or didn't, or you went out and got a job, and then you met that special someone, you got married. Those are the events in your life. And as they happened, you took pictures and you wrote down what happened and you documented it in your scrapbooks and photo albums. That's the history of your life. And even when you get old and you become senile, there's an objective documentation of what actually happened in your life. That's what our history is in the United States of America. What could be better documented than the history of the United States of America? It's right out there in front of your faces. What is the 1776 Project? It is these liberals, leftists, Marxists, communists, just simply throwing that out and just off the top of their head, here and today, in the year 2021, just writing what happened in history. They're just writing it out. No evidence, no proof, no nothing. Just throwing out everything that was documented. It would be like someone coming in when you turn 80 years old, like Pelosi's age, and you get senile. And you can't, you're going out. Your brain's deteriorating and it's your final exit. And someone comes along and they just, they sneak into your house and they take away all your photographs and all this, and they rewrite it, and they make new photographs, and they Photoshop photographs, and they rewrite a complete history of what your life is. And as you're going through those early stages of dementia, if you go and look at those books, what are you going to think? Are you going to think, I don't even remember my own past correctly? And then when you die, and your grandchildren find those photo albums and documentation, and they look at it, they're going to have a completely false view of what your entire life was. That's what the 1776 Project is. Joe Biden just brought it back. That was his priority in the first hours in office, not doing anything for you. All right, the next one's a little bit irrelevant, but very important. So this person points out that the 5 stages of woke debating. Remember, I've said over and over and over again, these people cannot debate, just like junk scientists. Watch my junk science videos. Number 1, your ideas are evil. Number 2, you are evil. Number 3, I will no longer talk to you. Talk to the hand. Number 4, you aren't allowed to even talk to me. Number 5, you aren't allowed to talk to anybody. Is that rational debate? Is that how the Federalist Papers created this nation? They left out number 6. You go to a death camp or something of that nature, or a re-education camp, or you get canceled. These people are crazy, folks. The people in charge are certifiably insane. You want to talk about mental illness? That fits diagnostic criteria that already exists long before these people took over. All right, let's look at this. The Washington Post, okay, here's something from the Washington Post a while ago. Trump campaign promotes false claim that Biden would end fracking. Fast forward to today. Biden administration, yes, we are following through with a fracking ban. January 20, 2021. I said it all along in my videos, didn't I? There's no way this guy could have taken the state of Pennsylvania. Ending fracking is ending Pennsylvania, in large part. You don't go to Los Angeles and run for mayor by saying, I'm going to destroy the film industry. It doesn't happen. That person will not get elected to office. Everything Biden has ever said, except when he's on the spot in the debates where he just lied, everything he said throughout his history is to end fracking, end fossil fuels. In other words, destroy the core of the economy of Pennsylvania. And yet you're telling me he won Pennsylvania. Right. Right. All right, let's look at this. As Trump left office, I grew up with Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show. It was charming. It was wonderful. I never knew really what Johnny Carson's political leanings were throughout his entire time as the host of that show. He just sat down and had these conversations, laughter, humor, not about insulting people and being political. Closest to that would be Rodney Dangerfield talking about his wife. What a funny guy. Had Johnny just laughing on the floor. But then you get this Jimmy Kimmel taking over after a couple people. And what's he do? He turns the Tonight Show into this anti-Trump hate fest. And look at this picture. Picture of Trump photoshopped with no hairpiece in a jail. For what? For keeping us out of war? For preventing terrorists from entering the country? I mean, these people are off their rockers. All right. All right, at about the time of the presidential inauguration, let's look at how many views you had for Biden's inauguration. 69,000 waiting, 116,000 waiting, 28,000 waiting, 34,000 waiting, or watching, or what have you. These are in the tens of thousands, perhaps, out of 350 million Americans and the other 7 billion people in the world. Once again, nobody's paying attention to this guy. Let's look at Trump at the same time. Trump released his farewell address touting achievements. 270,000 views, 328,000 views, 339,000 views. And you're going to tell me Biden was this extraordinarily popular person who defeated Donald Trump. The next thing is very serious, folks. Now, when I did my last video about these conservative, just being a bit cautious when listening to these conservative commentators and such, one of them I brought up was education. He goes the humor route. About as harmless as you can get. Well, harmless unless you don't like people spreading the truth, because humor is a great way to spread the truth. And that's what Tyler Zed does here with education. And look at this. On Inauguration Day, I go there and the Discord server where all those memes are is turned off. And there's a message here saying that Discord is threatening to end their channel for, quote, the spread of misleading or harmful information. Right. Right. This is the censorship, folks. In other words, spreading the truth. They're even going after this guy, who was probably the most benign of them all in terms of just the humor. Alright, let's look at the mainstream news media really briefly. All they've done for 4 years is attack the President of the United States, Donald Trump. That's all they did. What they said made no sense. They just made up lies out of whole cloth. They had headlines, the Star Tribune, this piece of rag over here in Minnesota. That's all it had for 4 years. All these headlines just attacking Donald Trump. Not giving you any news, just trying to program you, manipulating you, thinking that you're so stupid that you're going to fall for a bunch of headlines. Well, look at this. Biden takes office, and what's the headline says? Democracy has prevailed. Biden vows to mend nation. Really? Democracy? Shutting off comments, censoring, instead of doing what the American people wanted, investigating this election, not investigating the election. The first 15 executive orders only benefit other countries or leftist liberal agendas that hurt the country in America, but not one of them does anything for the actual people. Really? Democracy has prevailed. Interesting. Oh, here, hey, look at this. Here's some headlines from the past. This is what the Star Tribune is like, this piece of junk newspaper in Minnesota. Keeping them honest. Sorry seems to be the hardest word. Trump departs, bringing chaotic presidency to an end. No, Trump didn't make it chaotic, folks. It was Nancy Pelosi. It was these people who kept attacking him at all times, including CNN, the news media that wrote this headline. Chaotic presidency. It wasn't because of Trump that it was chaotic. It was because of CNN and the people they serve in the swamp. Trump's lie spread like the virus he's ignored for months. Really? That's a headline? That's news? Using a simile? Trump's lie spread like... I mean, this isn't reporting, folks. This is just left-wing propaganda. Trump to leave office tomorrow as a disgraced president? No, he's leaving office as the last president of the United States of America because he was overthrown, and it's now the Banana Republic of America, and he was one of the very greatest presidents. Kept us out of war, brought peace to the Middle East, energy independence, kept the terrorists out. The list goes on and on and on and on and on and on. This president was acting like a sore loser before he actually lost. No, he just knew what was coming. He didn't know exactly what was coming, but he knows that these people play by lying and cheating and stealing. Here's a quote I have not verified, by the way. I have not verified, but I have to move fast. Teddy Roosevelt. Patriotism means to stand with the country. It does not mean to stand with the president. Now, if your president is a patriot, then yeah, to the extent that he serves the people, you will stand with the president. That was the Trump era. The Biden era, everything I've said so far about what he's doing, you're not even talking about. You're not even talking about the American people. Nothing. And that's that, folks. Okay. Sorry I've got to move so fast here. I have got to get out of here. Please look at the link and watch that video about how Los Angeles is making money off of homelessness. They're maintaining it. They're creating it. It's the same thing I've told you Minnesota's been doing all along. Isn't it? But nobody listens. I thank you for listening here on this video. And I don't know when I'm going to be able to TWexit now, because now I have to go to work, and I don't know. But I'm doing everything I can to get off of that thing once and for all. Don't need it. Don't want it. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Stay safe, and again, I recommend that you look to Jesus, the coming King. That's when things are going to get better, because the United States of America is over. Take care.